RainScapes is an example of a local government program that's been charged with reaching out and helping people do projects on their private property. We are like the pebble in the pond. So we throw it into the pond of a congregation and then they throw it out into many more ponds, and we hope that the ripple effect will be significant and add up to a great celebration and improvement in the overall environment, as well as reduce runoff and help us meet some goals. So Montgomery County has 8 designated watersheds. And this is the shape of our county. It's on our logo. And it shows you that Rock Creek and Anacostia are in the southeast part of our county, the central part. Those are 2 of the most impaired watersheds. But each watershed has a name, and you should get to know your address, your name, where your congregation is in the watersheds. So this is a status map of what the conditions of our watershed resources are. Blue is drinking water quality. That's excellent. Green is pretty good. Red is poor, and yellow is fair. Most of the county is in fair to poor condition. If I were to show you a map of 5 years ago, you'd say, well, there's a lot more green on this map, and I'd say you are correct. But there's also a lot less blue. But there's also a lot less yellow. It's been moved towards green, and red that's been moved towards blue. It takes a long time to restore a biological system called a watershed. We do have regulatory requirements, and these requirements come down from the Clean Water Act. The Clean Water Act delegates authority to the state delegates authority to the county to figure out a way to clean up the water. And then we report to the state reports to the federal government. As of 2010, the stormwater law changed to require ESD, which is environmental site design, or low impact development practices, to be the first way to manage stormwater. So if you go in to redevelop your house or do an addition on a congregational property, you'll discover that you're required to put in a rain garden, or you're required to put in a dry well or some other thing to manage stormwater. Historically, stormwater has been large government or large, at the time of development, underground facilities or ponds. And it's been the type of thing that individuals could not do. With the ESD, low impact development strategies, they're smaller. These become within the reach of individual stewardship. You can do it at home, you can do it with the group at your congregation. So that's the good news. From a government standpoint, we have something to offer the individual that wants to do something for the environment. We are required to add control to 4,292 impervious acres, maybe 4,000. It's kind of a negotiated amount. We have to get 20%. It's 6.7 miles, square miles of impervious area. Just imagine a vast paved over area. That water is just going straight to the stream. And 70% of that water is coming from private property. Rooftops, parking lots, driveways. People think it's the roads, but the roads are catching the water from private property. The runoff starts on private property. So if we can catch it close to the source, we actually have a much better chance in a decentralized way that if any one little part fails, it's not a catastrophe. If we wait till the end of the line and that fails, it's a big problem. This is RainScapes projects and capital improvements projects. Capital improvements projects are funded differently than our projects, but they're done by our department. They're the stream restoration, pond retrofits, green streets, if you've seen any green streets in your neighborhood coming on. This is done through bond funding, and then it's maintained through the water quality protection charge, which is our local fee. This just shows you on this little pie chart that 82% is actually non-congregational property. So in addition to doing something on your congregational grounds, we really want you to reach out to people in your congregations and say, can you do something at home? Because honestly, as a program, we deal in 800 square foot units of impervious area. So that's like half a roof, right? So we need lots of roofs to get to our goal of 50 impervious acres. There's 4,560 square feet in an acre, square feet in an acre. So if you divide that by 800, you can see we need a lot of projects. You don't have to be a math genius to know that. But 11% of congregations have some form of stormwater management, and 7% have none. This is just congregational properties. 41% have no stormwater management. And that comes out to 316 impervious acres on congregational property in the county That excludes the city of Rockville, the city of Gaithersburg, and Tacoma Park. They have their own requirements for reducing runoff. So the number of projects we've done so far on congregations has added 2.2 impervious acres of treatment to our goal of 50. That's great. But if we could get more of these untreated acres through into our program, or just to do something on their property, every little bit helps. There are a lot of acres, and a lot of people are going to have to do something to make the difference. Our local funding source is the WQPC, Water Quality Protection Charge. On your individual property, it shows up on your property tax, it shows up on your congregation's property tax, and then if you have stormwater control, you can apply for a credit. It was originally established to pay for maintenance of stormwater facilities. This is ponds, it's underground facilities. This is why that fund was created. I think it was created about 15 years ago in Montgomery County. We were way ahead of the curve. How many of you have heard an unfortunate term, rain tax? Yeah, so it's not a rain tax, it's an impact fee. And this fee was in Montgomery County, and has been in Montgomery County for quite some time. And it's a very low fee, really. But now with the credit, you can get up to 80% credit if you are actually managing the water on your site. We also use it for outreach and education. We have a whole watershed outreach that's in addition to RainScapes. Our mission is to educate you all and incentivize you. One way we incentivize people is to describe the nature of the problem. The other way is to offer cash. So maybe you want to know what they look like, because this sounds a little bit strange. You've never seen a RainScape. Well, sometimes it's as simple as doing water harvesting with rain barrels and putting in a garden instead of a lawn. Sometimes it's planting trees to shade your parking lot, to reduce the heat of the runoff. Sometimes you're using it for education. In this Geneva Day School example, it was used to catch runoff, but also as a teaching garden for the preschool that exists at the congregation. In this case, the teacher at this Montessori school actually wanted the kids to see how the water was getting cleaner as it ran down through the playground. This girl's bat mitzvah piece was, from the Torah, was a water section, and so she did a rain garden as part of her spiritual development. St. James, which you'll hear about a little bit later, did a number of things and put them together in what we call a treatment train to try to solve runoff that was causing icing in their parking lot. Up in Seneca Valley, this is the mid-construction, and on the right was right after planting, and this spring we hope to get some better pictures. But they put in 4 rain gardens, and they got $10,000 back in rebate money. And they got that because they were addressing the runoff from their roof and broke the runoff into 4 sections, so each rain garden was eligible for their maximum amount of money, which was $2,500. So this project was almost 100% of their cost because they had a lot of volunteer labor. Sheet flow can be treated with the conservation landscape, so you use these native plants. That water, instead of flooding the neighbor, is now starting to be soaked up in the landscape, and it's supporting all the beneficial plants and the animals that need those plants. I mean, we have a lot of deer browse, and so if we consciously reintroduce plants to support our pollinators, and we protect those plants, the pollinators have a much better chance. We have a new tree program that's being launched through DEP that will be rolled out in the fall, and there's information on our table if you're interested in trying to get free trees for your congregation. This is separate from the rebate program and is, I believe, countywide. From our perspective, there are benefits to the county. It helps us reach our goal. We have a regulatory goal that we are trying to meet. Property owners, what do you get from that? Let's just start with beauty. Why not go for beauty? This is a beautiful world, and we can make it a more beautiful world while we're meeting all these other objectives. There's less time for mowing, so you don't need the fertilizers. You have a reduction in fertilizer use. You don't need to use the external water. Your WSSC water doesn't have to be used because these are lower water landscapes. If you have trees that are creating shading, you can cool your buildings. and your parking lots. So there are many, many different ways that it can benefit you to be doing this sort of project. If you were to look at a private property, and this graphic is online, there are 9 different types of RainScapes. And we have a lot of information for residents and non-residents, because it's all on the web, for how to do this. We want to recycle our water. We look at, so this is just an adaptation. You can have a rain barrel or a cistern, and that's where you're reusing that water. You're catching it, you're irrigating. You could be thinking about it as recycling it through the tree canopy, as that tree canopy throws it up into the atmosphere and soaks it into the ground. Green roofs, rain gardens reduce and infiltrate. You want to reduce that volume. You want to really take that recycling concept and take this product, this stormwater waste product, and turn it into a valuable asset to you. This is free water. Why are we throwing it away? So at the core, at my miserly core, and my frugal core, I think we should be trying to catch the water. And then you can find all kinds of other reasons to try to use it and play with it. So up to $10,000 in rewards rebates for a congregational parcel. If your congregation happens to have 3 parcels, it's per parcel. Okay? So you look at your property. Some congregations are actually straddling 2 or 3 different property parcels. And at this point in time, we do it per parcel. Some congregations are all 1 parcel. And you just have to look at your own property record. We're looking at trying to make it more equal and equitable based on an impervious area, but we're not there yet. So that's how the rules are right now. Once your project is approved, then you go ahead and install it. You submit your receipts. You agree to keep it up, and you sign a property owner agreement to that effect, and then we mail you a check. We're trying to make a bureaucratic process as easy and painless as possible. And then the same is true for residential projects. It's the same process. We've done 27 projects so far. We'd like to double that number. And you can see we've got 2.2 acres on congregational property. We've got a total of about 22 impervious acres through our program. We've got to do the tally up because we've had an awful lot of applications in the last 3 weeks. You know, somebody once said it takes 20 years for an overnight sensation. So RainScapes has been around for 10 years. So we're starting to pick up momentum. We've had 60 applications in the last 3 weeks. So we're very excited, and we'd like to get more. If you're interested in participating, you would go to the RainScapes page. RainScapes.org is the shortcut. On this main page, you see on the right, it tells you the types of RainScapes. Is it a rain barrel? Is it a cistern? Permeable paver retrofits, rain gardens, conservation landscapes. And that we have a little chapter that explains how these projects work and how they get designed. And we have other resources that are like plant lists, plant sales. We have a local native plant sale list is over on the table, but if you wanted to forward a link to all your friends, it's also up on the website under resources. If you have done a project or you feel that you can look at your property, whether it's your church property, congregational property, if it's your individual property, if you have some sort of watershed management on your property, stormwater management rather, you can apply for a credit. So if you've gotten the credit, you're good for 3 years, you can get 80% of your charge reduced. Every time you have an opportunity to make a change, think about how can I make this environmental? And win-win. And then talk to others. Let people know why you're doing it. And then we like this cost share retrofit. And let me just tell you something I figured out on rain gardens. If the county were to pay 100% of the cost, it would cost the county, and this is taxpayer dollars, $400,000 an impervious acre. By doing this cost share, people are meeting their needs, and it costs the taxpayer between about $28,000 an impervious acre. Because the thing you have on congregational properties is you have volunteers. And that really is a big difference in the cost of the project. So you can really help the county stretch our stewardship dollars that we're required to spend by your participation. If you're interested in offering a rain barrel workshop at your congregation, we're working on getting a contract in place to be able to supply barrels. If you want to do a stream cleanup, we have a watershed planner who is coordinating that kind of effort. She's also coordinating marking storm drains. And if you're not ready to do anything else, you could do pet waste. Right? You could inform people in your community that it will really help our watersheds if they would pick up after their pets. I think it's something like 3 garbage trucks a day worth of dog waste is generated every day in Montgomery County. That's a lot of dogs. So that's all that bacteria, that's all that phosphorus that could be kept out of our streams if people would pick up after their pets. You can partner with other nonprofits. So there's Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake, Interfaith Power and Light. There's the Montgomery County Faith Community Advisory Council, and then there are local watershed groups. Local watershed groups really focus on the issues that are particular to your watershed, and you may find some things that you weren't aware of by going to their website and contacting people that are active in that group. Now, all these watershed groups are listed on our website. My Green Montgomery, if you're on Facebook or if you're on Pinterest, that's another place where you can see what these projects look like. You can get the latest green news going on in the county. So think about what makes sense for your congregational site. What can you do and where can you do it? And then understand that patience is a virtue and that you're going to have to work through a committee and it's going to take time and it's all worth it. If each congregation were to commit to controlling 1/2 of an impervious acre, either on their property or in combination with their congregants, we could control 383 impervious acres. Our program goal is 50. So for me, that's a huge slam dunk. But it's that small an amount. If you want a workshop, say you've got your congregation really riled up and you want to do a conservation landscape workshop, contact us and we'll see if we can do a congregational-based workshop for you.